Right, Nick, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. Let's kick this off. I kind of want to understand a bit of the scale of the task at hand. How many different reconciliation platforms or automation systems do organizations like the big traditional banks, the newer banks and card providers, how many do they typically use, and how costly can the mistakes be from doing this in a manual way?
Yeah, that's a good question. I suppose it's quite difficult to identify how many each individual organization is supposed to use. Some organizations have one central repository which they're using one system for to look after all their automation and reconciliation. Alternatively, you could have some organizations which are using very disparate systems per different business unit or per different team to manage these processes. I think a couple of the key factors to consider on the strategic opportunity at hand when it does come to these systems is, if you are going to go for multiple systems in different teams or different geographies, for example, that they're interoperable between each other. You need to have these systems being able to speak to each other. If they're too disparate, then you end up creating more manual work between these different systems as opposed to them communicating with each other. Alternatively, if you want to go for the option where you have a central repository with one system looking after sort of all your reconciliations across all your different business units, then there's a lot of different options there. I suppose there's always a flag that if there is an issue with that system, that's going to have an effect across all your different business units, but that's why making sure that you have a flexible solution to meet these ongoing changes and requirements across all your different business units is imperative, yeah.
I think the key thing that you mentioned there is that the flexibility of the solution, because on one hand, you don't want to end up piling in system after system and then everything rapidly becomes siloed and you end up with a huge amount of legacy tech, which I'm not saying it happens in banking, but it happens in banking. How do you guys at Autorek kind of work within that kind of flexible delivery system?
Yeah, so Autorek is an extremely flexible solution. I think that's one of the USPs that we have. Everything is configured through the UI. We are data agnostic. This allows for organizations to really tailor-make the solution to what their requirements are, even specific to different teams or business units. Going back to our previous point, so that configurability through the front end, we train our users or the client's users to be able to use the solution and configure the solution. So as and when they need to make changes, there's no reliance or large IT projects. It's not very costly, or there's not a lot of resource required to make those small adjustments and changes and improvements in the solution. You can simply train your front-end users to be able to make those changes, speed to deployment, push that through testing environments as an example, all the way through into production, all through the front end of the solution.